We'll do it live. It's cool.
We'll do it live.
We are doing it live.
We are actively doing this live.
Also, Andrew, you look so distinguished in your mind.
Don't get started.
If this is distinguished, then boy, I don't know. Because I know what's actually going on is I'm wearing the same 3 layers, possibly 4, with this.
We're super live now.
I will have to say, I'm gonna have to say, thank you, women, for having this as a need, because I love this now. This is amazing.
Dare I ask, what is that?
It's a hot water bottle.
I'm gonna get this back on track. Hey, if you're here, welcome. This is purely indicative of how this whole thing goes. This is our December doing our bit culmination of 2022 with the SIG Crew. If you're not familiar, we are a special interest group, a SIG, within the IGDA, the International Game Developers Association. Paula, tell us. Well, actually, let's do introductions. If you'd like to do a very brief, who are you and what are you doing in the SIG? Somebody go.
Hugo goes first.
Yeah.
Okay, yep. My name is Hugo Bille. I am a game developer living in Sweden, making games, hopefully with eco-centric themes. Yes, not hopefully. That's actually what's happening. I'm also co-chair for now of the IGDA Climate SIG. Although, we'll probably see some new faces in that role.
And co-founder.
Co-founder. I'm also a co-founder. Yes. Enough about me. Paula.
Oh God. Hi everyone, my name is Paula, she, her pronouns. I also serve as a co-founder and current co-chair for the Climate SIG. In my day job, I serve as a senior UX strategist for Xbox Publishing with the cloud gaming team, also doing sustainability related things. Very excited to be here.
And I am Andrew. I run a small, fresh development studio called Dreambeaver Studios, focusing on making eco-centric games entirely. That's all we do. And speaking of beavers, I'm the recent eager beaver to join the SIG, and wanted to get neck deep involved in it. So we've seen a lot more of me in the new year. And excited to talk about the brief part of this year I've been a part of. But otherwise, very happy to be here.
I'm Megan. I attempt to coordinate and elevate all of the amazing things that happen here. I've done marketing in the games industry for about a decade, and I'm Commander Megan, and this is my favorite SIG on the Citadel. I don't know.
Yes.
I think we can all agree over the past 2 to 3 years, if you're not a member of our Discord, it has become this beautiful, refreshing, positive, safe haven for people who either have climate anxiety or want to help mitigate climate change, either within or outside of the games industry. We have a lot of fantastic people who are professionals in games, but we have academics too. We have researchers. Paul, I can hear you type. I'm gonna beat you.
We got exhaustion. We got threats of violence.
Yeah, we got it all.
We got it all.
All right, this is me not having programmed my mic the right way.
Oh, okay. I just reinstalled everything before this. Every time streaming goes great. If you're here, my Streamlabs is always broken. I have no idea how many viewers we have. Please say something. We're happy to chat. Also, if there's any sound challenges, there's only so much we can do. We know Hugo's a little quiet. He's very soft-spoken, but
Sorry about that.
this is very informal. But this will go. We'll have this up on YouTube if you're watching this later. But yeah, all right. So I'm gonna get out of the way. Let's talk a little bit about what all was done in 2022 so far.
Oh
We
no.
did nothing. We essentially did absolutely nothing. We kind of just...
We sat in climate anxiety for way too long. No, I think there's been it's been interesting to reflect on this past year because I believe Hugo, we're now 3 years in.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, and
Formally, maybe 2. I mean, you and I have been formal co-chairs for 2 years, I think.
yeah.
No.
Well, but the organization that you'd run beforehand had been running for a year, at least a year prior to that, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think to recap for everyone who's joined the Climate SIG for the past year, Hugo had been running a separate Discord community with hundreds of game developers, researchers, already talking about the things that we're talking about today with climate anxiety, what we in the video game industry can do. And the IGDA Climate Special Interest Group had originally been born as a grassroots affiliate of the Playing for the Planet Alliance, with the intention to serve as the bottoms up entry point, while the broader United Nations initiative was focused on the top down approach. And Hugo and I found each other and realized that we are doing very similar things and we're asking many of the same questions. And we decided to join forces and build this now robust community in partnership with everyone here. And so it's been interesting. A lot of our initial setup was at the beginning of the pandemic, where we were just trying to figure out how do we coordinate work streams across all of the countries where we all live and are stuck in. And this year has been really cool because we're now starting to see like offshoots of those initial work streams. Like people have formed their own companies. Andrew, you can speak directly to that and your experience this past year. We've released the environmental game design playbook. Dr. Benjamin Abraham, who has been with us since the beginning, not only released, I think, the first analysis of our industry's carbon footprint, but he started his own consultancy. People have fallen in love in the Climate SIG. I won't call out who, but it's really sweet. And many folks have published a lot of papers. We've done pilots, so excited to dig into all of that.
How big were we this time last year?
That's a good question.
Ish.
I think we were at 500. 400, 500. Now we're at over 800, which is terrifying.
Hey, do we get anything? Do we get like a plaque or anything from Discord for getting over 1,000 people or something?
Nothing.
Do we get any?
Nope.
Nothing. Just man,
Nope.
They really missed out on that motivational scheme.
Yep.
I know. We still don't have criteria for who gets a custom emoji.
So for now, it's just. I mean, other than yours, other than the thing, what else we got? We gotta
make a good
flesh
face.
out that.
Yeah, Hugo,
I still haven't made a good enough face to warrant an emoji.
No, that or you're the most professional out of all of us.
All right, what else we got for 2022? Hugo, I know you've got a list.
I know that Paula had a list from before, so I instead of reading that, I made my own list, and let's see if it's the same. It's largely the same. I would like to call out that you three actually have been doing our bit episodes, and I haven't hosted a single doing our bit episode this year. Which is
tell me you passed the baton without telling me you passed the baton.
No, it feels a bit like that. Like last year, I think I was in every single one. Except maybe I think maybe the one that you did with Marina Saros was last year.
That was an amazing episode.
So yeah, we've doing our bit started as a podcast, which I hosted on my own, and now it's turned into this more sort of live stream thing. And this year, if we decide to count Marina, because I don't remember if that was December or January, especially Paula and Megan, you have been hosting a bunch of interviews with Marina Saros, as mentioned, Rami Barriga, Ben Abraham, as also mentioned, Neva K, Niva, is it Neva or Niva? I can never remember. Neva K. Catherine Flick, Joost Verbort, and now this. Am I hosting this, by the way? Can I put on my resume that I did host one episode in 2022?
Yes.
Sure, go ahead. Take credit.
Co-host, yeah, do it.
You're hosting this.
Yeah, and of course we had extra support from Andrew coming in to host the last one that we did with Neva.
I'm doing the American hostile takeover thing, the stereotype. Crew.
I
Good.
As
It's
you
all real.
live,
Go ahead.
as you
Leave it.
live not in America.
Yeah, I've come abroad to live stereotypically American. Yes, living in the UK now. It's kind of cheat mode a little bit because everyone here is all like British politeness and you'll be direct after 3 pints. And I'm just like I just ask for what I want and you should get it because I don't know if people are just off put or just not expecting it. But yeah, um, it's crazy how many kind of looping this back to the growth of the SIG, how many different cultures from around the world have tapped in. I don't think there's a single sort of macro continental culture that isn't represented here at this point. I personally want to reach out to the African game development community so much more, and that's one of my goals for the year. I've been building up a lot of contacts in Africa with that organize various events and things like that, and I really want to see more engagement from that place because, yeah, I mean, how can you talk about climate without talking about the global South? Especially when it comes to the people who are most impacted. So very excited to see the growth of that industry and would definitely want to get them more involved in the SIG in the future.
I was gonna say shameless plug for Africa Comicade, who's been doing their like green game jam events and galvanizing the growing gaming industry there to think about climate themes in their games.
Yeah, I do think we have Oscar Michael in the Discord, but I haven't seen anything from him in a while.
I don't know. Oscar has been busy. I think like the closest I've been able to connect with him has been like watching him on LinkedIn do all of these incredible things to engage the community.
We did not mention our very own Paula Esquadra.
What?
Go
Paula
hide
not
in your
wanting to draw
library.
attention to herself? Come
Go
on.
hide in your really beautiful and luscious library. Congratulations to Paula for being part of the future class in the game award. Yeah, take it.
Paula won the game award.
This is actually the last time we're gonna see Paula. This is a send off because she's too famous for us now.
Oh God, no!
She's entered that tier of successful where it's just like us poors can't follow.
Am I making you blush? Are we succeeding?
I don't know if I want to be there, y'all. Everybody acts different at that level. Like, I want to stay here. This is safe.
This room is full of A types, and I'm scared.
No, it's too many. No, thank you very much. I'm really bad with taking congratulations. I will try not to be too awkward. Like it honestly would not have happened without all of you and like everybody in the community. I think that with the future class, for folks who don't know, the Game Awards recognizes 50 inspiring individuals who are helping move the industry forward, and among many, many wonderful, very powerful individuals, there's a ton about inclusion. There's a ton about diverse representation and psychological safety. And nothing on climate resiliency, nothing yet on sustainability, which is so in other ways difficult to see because there are so many of us that are coming out of the woodwork going like, we have to do something about this. There's more than enough data. Like we now have to act and just need to figure out how. And so my new goal is to make sure that the future classes, like everybody has something around climate change and sustainability.
Yeah, I would really like to see more acknowledgement of the cross section of gaming and climate, and a lot of the sort of industry infrastructure like awards, publishing, grants, all these kinds of things that we kind of rely on behind the scenes. Some of it public facing, like awards and ceremonies and things like that. But just like, where's the climate version for this?
So,
and I think the SIG has done a lot of progress on making these kinds of things come to light.
This is
That's
a
another
beautiful
point on-
segue.
It's two beautiful segues. Let's
Where are
do
you
it.
going?
I'm going to conferences.
Oh. I'm going to 2023. What's coming up for 2023? This is
Lots of conferences.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, I will say before we dive into 2023, I do also just want to acknowledge and hear Hugo's perspective because he was able to go in person. Where when we originally formed the climate special interest group work streams, the focus across all of our work streams was how do we get industry practitioners to apply this knowledge in especially given like we're all trying to pay our bills. We often have very specific deadlines and very specific amounts of resources to do the work. Like, how do we lower friction as much as possible and increase accessibility to the climate movement? And through the work of the design patterns work stream, of which Hugo leads in partnership with Arnaud Fayol, who is unfortunately not here. We love you. Please get better. And Clayton Whittle, and Trevin York. There's so many people. We learned very quickly that it's not just a matter of us thinking about like how do we reduce barriers to entry in industry, but how do we set up the next generation of game developers who will be in this space? Gen Z being 30% of our employees by 2030. Oh my God, Clayton
Speaking
Whittle,
of in touch with Gen Z,
the lead author of the
Hey.
environmental game design playbook. I manifested. I didn't even have
I
to
got-
say his name 3 times.
I got manifested. That's fun.
you've been summoned. What year is it?
That's that's a hard question actually. 2019, I kind of quit paying attention. So somewhere between then and after then.
I can't get over how well timed that was. Sorry. But so when we were talking about like the linkages between, and then Clayton, you can do your wonderful intro in a moment. When we were creating linkages in between, we had a really great opportunity through Hugo and Sonia Fizek. Apologies if I didn't say the name correctly. Of Cologne Game Lab to see like how may we help students apply the knowledge that we learned, such that by the time they get to industry, it's already something that they're comfortable with. They know how to act, they know what matters, and all that stuff. But I'll let Hugo and Clayton take it away.
Nice. No, so what I when you said I was there in person, I knew where you were going because that was the only thing I went to in person this year. But yeah, so we didn't that actually happen this year. By the way, we launched the playbook to begin with.
Yeah, that was technically 2022.
Kind of a big deal.
See? Yeah.
That was March, I think. It was early 2022.
Actually, let's start the story there and then get to where I went in person. So over to Clayton and the launch of the playbook.
Sure. Am I allowed to speak? Is like the circle of protection from my summoning been released?
You've been ungagged. Tell us who you are, so we know we didn't make a wrong copy or something.
Right. Hi, I'm Clayton. I belong here. That's how I start my introductions usually, so I feel like okay in a room. I guess I was not in charge of it. I spearheaded the environmental game design playbook effort that I want to say started in 2020, around then, and then we released the alpha of that wonderful product in early 2022. And it's all the fun stuff you need to make an environmentally impactful game. Not all the fun stuff, which is what I'm learning now, which is now we're doing the play testing essentially of it and learning all about all of the ways we can improve it, which is wonderful. One of those projects is something that Hugo was going to talk. I like catching up to this conversation. And you're like, Clayton, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, you're getting the hang of it. Great.
Yeah, what I have to say is I belong here. Hugo, your turn.
Yeah, I also belong here. That's a great idea. I'm going to start saying that.
It's empowering, isn't it?
Yeah, you belong here.
It feels good. I mean, don't say like in prison. That'd be bad.
Fair.
So in person, because I live in Europe, I was able to go to. Actually, before we get to in person, because a lot of what happened there was not in person. Anyway, the Cologne Game Lab, which is a pretty prestigious game development school in Cologne, Germany, ended up taking up a course in experimental game design, which was, I think it was 10 weeks of just making games in small teams among students. And the whole theme of the course was based on the environmental game design playbook. So all of the teams were tasked with making games with some kind of environmental psychological impact based on the theories that we established in that document. So Clayton and myself, and as well as Trevin York, and you, Paula, as well, right? Were included in that
From
course
afar.
as mentors. Yeah. So there were a couple of sessions where we were asked to provide feedback on the teams. And here comes the in-person part. Trevin and I were able to go to Cologne for the final presentations and actually look at the games and play the games. I think there were 10 of them in total, and just see how the playbook can be used in real time, which was illuminating in a lot of ways. I think we learned. Well, I mean, the positives are simple. The students were able to read the document and learn the theories and apply. I mean, all the teams applied the theories to some kind of result. It was interesting to see games actually being made with impact in mind first and foremost, and still being useful or not enjoyable gameplay experience. I think it's also interesting to see playbook used in a context where the developers using it weren't drawn to it because they were so passionate about climate action. They were drawn to it because they had to. It was their school assignment, which I think created a kind of a different school of games, because people who aren't gung ho about climate action, who are just regular people, often have a different view of the climate problem in general. One thing that struck me was that many of these games were much more depressing, honestly, than we had intended for the play for what we wanted the playbook to produce. So that's something that Trevin and I ended up talking about quite a lot. Like, is there is that a problem? And I guess there's something we're still thinking about.
I mean, I really liked the playbook because it was my jump-in point for this entire community. I was out looking for resources for my studio to implement this kind of stuff in the games. Like, okay, does this stuff exist yet? Like, set about trying to make games about climate action or to have some amount of it in there. And you go out Googling for these things and they're like, oh yeah, Horizon Zero Dawn's got climate in it. Be like, well, okay, that's predicated on terrible apocalypse, but and it's not exactly in the gameplay loops. It's a lot of combat. So actual resources for this kind of thing were, I think this is kind of the only one that is like directly meant to be consumed by people making games. And it spoke to exactly what I needed. Then I kind of just stalked all the authors, which are right in front of you. And the rest is history. And now here I am running a studio and about to put on a Green Game Jam using that said document. So long story short, this is a very good resource and we're proud of it.
Yeah,
it's very nice.
We continue to develop it. I mean, there are going to be additional versions of it incorporating what we've learned. And it's also a foundational part of the Action Wiki, which has been another big chapter of our work this year. Is that a segue? That sounds to me like a segue.
Yes, thank you. Oh, what a beautiful segue that was to 2023. Yeah. Well, I know. So we
no, we're still in 2022.
I mean, it's a still on the playbook though. There was we had a few people get to go to the India's Game Developer Conference and do some with the playbook, which seemingly successful considering how many people immediately joined the SIG right after. So it was great to see engagement coming from India and the amount of interest coming out of that from just one workshop. So we're already talking about taking it, to other conferences to develop next year, GDC next year. Yeah. So it's hot. People want it.
This is when we catapulted Trevin, isn't it?
Yep. I know. Special thanks to Trevin York for being the only one willing to travel.
around
Right.
this time. Everybody else
Also-
had weddings to facilitate.
Also, good
Couldn't
segue.
travel.
Good segue to Trevin from the word hot. That's what I picked up there.
I don't know if we want to include this though. Like a few people had babies. We know Grant used to like.
Yes,
That's a big
Grant,
deal.
the Shonk Master, Shonkweiler,
Yeah,
your neighbor.
Production babies.
there were several exciting expansions of families this year, so that was pretty.
So the SIG did technically get bigger.
SIG onesies someday.
Only
man.
if they're made in organic cotton.
Yep,
That's-
sustainably sourced merch
Yeah.
or go home.
Eventually recyclable and compostable. No,
Right.
yeah, I think Dr. Catherine Flick also has another beautiful baby. In parallel, she published, I think, like a landmark research paper on the implications of NFTs and cryptocurrency. Highly
was very
recommend
diplomatic.
checking out. Yes. She's also in a documentary. We'll have to find it and link it here.
Oh my god, I'm so excited for that documentary. But yeah, that was a really big deal. There was a lot of traction on NFTs this year, and yeah,
We learned a lot,
Mhm.
and things have transitioned to proof of stake, so that helps a little bit.
Yeah, the merge is good, but it doesn't, help it stop being a terrible exclusion economy framework. But we'll get there. Baby steps.
I wish I had like a cup of tea that I could just slowly sip.
Like,
But they're empty. They're empty.
How do so many cups?
Yeah.
All right, what else we got for 2022?
Never mind. Yeah. I was thinking about what you said about catapulting what I said about catapulting Trevin.
Catapulting Trevin.
I just know Arnaud.
That's 2023 right there.
Yeah, Arnaud just loved that expression, so I'm going to stick with it. I know you had a more professional take, but I've forgotten what that was. What sticks in my mind is catapult.
I'm gonna go with the trebuchet though, because we can say it's a trebuchet.
We can't do that.
Huh?
No.
Why not?
Because
Trebuchet
Trevin
is a superior siege weapon, okay?
It's so recognizable. Sorry, for everyone on the stream, there is a running joke that Trevin is like an attractive human and all good things come his way.
Yeah.
There's no lie. But as
This
a
is
result,
even-
the mythos around him and his ability to be trebucheted to different places and do really good work is just getting stronger and stronger.
Yeah. When I met Trevin live, one of my great achievements this year.
How was his aura?
Was
it powerful?
I was basking in it,
Yeah.
But we actually came up with a different Trevin pun, which was new to him, which is always great when you can come up with name puns that they haven't heard before. And because he was talking about interventions that, honestly, I don't remember. Trevin, if you're listening, you might have to fill me in on this one. But he was talking about a special type of intervention that he called an intravention, and that's very close to intravention.
Now I'm leaving.
I'm out.
We're back on track. I had an actual point before. My point is
Back on track. You've destroyed the tracks. The tracks are gone. They
Unlike last year, which was all about pandemic, this year some of us have been traveling and some of us have been meeting up. So we've seen some of the first actual heartwarming SIG meetups. I met Trevin. Well, then I continued down to France and hung out with Arnaud for like a week, which was definitely a highlight of the year for me. We didn't have a fancy event to go to. We just sat around and ate cheese, lots of it. Did some work, promise. But yeah, a lot of us have been. This is what I was fishing for like 20 minutes ago. A lot of us have been going to actual events as well and doing workshops and stuff. Who have you met, Paula?
Oh my gosh. I mean, having been a part of the GDC workshop, met Grant, Trevin, Chance Glasgow in person, as well as the amazing team from Arch Rockefeller Center, who's very invested in helping facilitate game developers making great games for climate action. That was a very, I think like it was such a jarring experience because one, I didn't expect everyone to be so tall. But then again, I'm 5'2.5", so that's not really
That's
much.
small.
So,
So small.
it was really cool. I think like every time anyone has had an opportunity to meet in person, it feels like people we've been friends with our entire lives, and like there's no beats missed. Like the Discord chats are basically like the real world chats, which has been incredible. Also got to tackle Jennifer Asteris from Us Two. Thankfully, not to the ground, but I was very excited. Deborah Mensah-Bonsu, who works with UN Playing for the Planet Alliance as well. Dr. Charlie Harbord from Kilted Otter Initiative. She also runs the IGDA Indigenous Advocacy and Awareness SIG. Oh my gosh, I just realized that was all this year. Holy
Yeah.
crap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2022 is busy, dude.
Yeah, my time
Like, a
blindness is
lot happened.
severely bad, apparently.
Yeah. I also got to meet Rebecca Pettersson, who's the co-founder with me on my side of the
Yeah.
merge of the SIG. Not for the first time, but still great.
I also got to meet Jennifer at EGX, which is I've only been to 2 conferences since I moved to the UK, and that was the second one. It was really a good time. But there's a certain unique energy of meeting people from this community, because I mean, the way I encountered it was I'm in this sea of developers, of people like me, or at least people who are supposed to share interests and stuff like that. But when you meet someone from this community, it's just this extra layer on top of that, with this enthusiasm for saving the world, which I think is such a video game appropriate thing to feel, because we've been selling the story of saving the world and being the hero and doing all that forever. And it's almost like meeting superheroes. It's almost like going out and meeting people who've like taken it upon themselves to, because this is extra credit. Like, this is not, none of us are paid to care about this stuff. There's a few people who actually get to be sustainability professionals in this industry, and then there's the rest of us who are in the industry, out on the side trying to save the world with it. So,
But sustainability is everybody's job, right? And so you're leading the charge.
You'd want to think, yeah. So we're getting there, but yeah, it's such great energy. Like, I would compare this to rocket fuel. Like, this community in general, I can't imagine not having found it at this point. Like, looking back into a situation where I like found a company trying to make games like this, but I wasn't a part of this group. I just don't see it working. I just don't see the energy and the fuel tank having stayed topped up without this place. But it's just great.
Clayton, what were you saying?
I was agreeing, and I was also like in my own brain nerding out quite hard, because it's exciting to me that this is how Andrew chooses to frame this. Because Andrew, obviously, we haven't had nearly as much time to get to know each other, because I kind of stepped away from the SIG for a bit right as you were coming in. But it's
Gaining employment and research productivity, mind you.
But it's exciting to hear you talk about it like this, because it's like textbook the reason why I started developing the EGDP in the beginning. Is like these textbook needing to feel empowered by empowering others, and like there's no such thing as a superhero. In reality, it is looking back after an entire year like we're doing now and seeing all of the baby steps that collectively we took together to accomplish big things that seem impossible. Like, holy crap, we did all of that in 2022. And hearing you talk about it like that is really invigorating, because I think there's a very real threat of people feeling like they have to do everything alone. And there's a very real risk in, I think, the video game industry of selling that, classic Greco-Roman mythos hero story.
Yeah.
That isn't real, but at the same time, like seeing a bunch of people who have been sold that and sell that. Like that's what we do. We sell the hero story. That's most video games on some level. Come together and do something collectively is really, I don't know, it's all of this, all of the textbook environmental psychology stuff that I nerd out on. It's all of it as if you took my notes and just wrote your experience next to each bullet point is basically what you said. And that's very exciting to hear because it means like it's working. The
Yeah,
community
I mean,
is
the
doing
thing that
big
it did the
things.
most for me was I didn't feel alone anymore. Like I felt like this rogue out on the side, and like, okay, someone's got to do it, so I guess I'll do it. And then come to find, it's like finding you're examining a stone wall looking for the button, and it's like, oh, there's a bat cave with like hundreds of people in there that are all about this thing. It's like, I found my people. Yes. Oh, look at all this stuff. All these wheels I don't have to reinvent. I can like stand on the shoulders of giants. Now, those giants are actually a bunch of little people in a big robe, you know,
Yeah.
which
Yes,
is which
we
is saying
are.
to
No.
the hero story, but it still feels like meeting heroes to me. When I was like, I found the playbook and I looked at the author section, I was like, these people must be like a big deal. Oh my god, like these. Oh my god, these
I
people
belong.
must be like.
We
Because
all belong here.
when you're on the inside of these things, it feels different. You're just trying to get the thing done, and you don't feel the gravity that this is going to have in the future to other people because you don't know that initial touch point. This look when I saw the playbook, and because it's just little at the time, it was little old me trying to do anything to intersect gaming and saving the planet, and I was just looking for any thread, any kind of boat in a storm. And when I found this, I was like, oh, there's this the sky parted and everything. I was like, look at all these people. They got like PhD on their names, and they got all these. Oh my god! I finally found the professionals who care about this stuff, and it was such a breath of fresh air. And then to find out, oh, you got a Discord community that actually talks. Oh wow! So it's just been incredible. Really, it's just been incredible. So, and the prospect of getting to meet people in real life and be like, oh, you're a real person. There's real people like now, and then there's real people, and that's like next level stuff, especially coming out of the pandemic.
We promise we are not all bots and a figment of your imagination.
Oh man, let this
Yeah,
lucid dream never end.
That's what a bot would say, Paula.
I mean, have you seen Journey? Like, we can make cool fake stuff these days.
I would just like
Now
to
you're
quickly.
scaring me.
I would like to quit. Now you're scared. After all this time, this is the point. I just want to quickly call out Arnaud, who is another one of our lovely co-chairs, and SIG Crew is currently supposed to be resting, but is in the chat, and he says, "I'm proud to be stuck under the same robe as all of you."
Yeah.
Now our nose scaring me.
Oh no.
All right, I'm taking us to 2023.
Nice.
Okay, we don't have to talk about the Action Wiki because we do that all the time. Just want to acknowledge that we did release an alpha version that's technically accessible on the web, though if you don't know it, you probably shouldn't. And we have been making strides with that. There's probably okay. We can talk more about that in 2023. I also want to acknowledge that the SIG, or at least the SIG Discord server, had the honor of hosting NDK's Climate Jam this year.
That's true. This is
which
the
was
second year
for
we
us, right?
hosted?
No, a lot of us were mentors last year.
We're
Yeah.
mentors.
Okay.
First time we actually hosted the whole jam on the Discord, which turned out well, I think.
It was awesome. All right. Now, like,
Yeah.
we're 40
I
minutes in. Can we talk about
I know.
it?
We get.
I was worried
done
we
a lot
wouldn't
of
have
stuff.
enough to cover. I should not have been. The silly nugget.
Well, I was gonna say, like, this is obvious. Like, for me, I know it's my time blindness because so many of the things that we've been talking about, for whatever reason, I thought was 2021. This is me, like, completely just misinterpreting timelines.
The start of the pandemic to now is just like a time that occurred, and it's kind of still happening.
Yeah, it's very squishy, but like I feel like I've known you all forever, and that means the world to me. I think looking forward in 2023, there's quite a few things that are very exciting coming out of the SIG. One of which is updates and like the big release of the Action Wiki, which Hugo can get into. There's also the fact that we have over 400 games now in our climate games database. And for the folks who are new, we as a community have just been collecting games that have pro-environmental themes, climate crisis themes, like community resiliency themes related to the environment. And we're slowly, because this is a volunteer community, getting through data collection and meta-analysis to understand, like, since the 1980s, from indie and AAA to game jams and prototypes, like what are the types of content that have been covered, basically to disprove the hypothesis that this is new. Final Fantasy 14 comes up, or Final Fantasy 7 comes up as a regular example of how like that subconsciously woke us up to the climate crisis. And so there are actually many examples of that. And so one of the things that I'm hopeful we'll be able to release this coming year is a meta-analysis around that, geared towards game developers who want to understand the market landscape, business development folks who are looking for content and ways to differentiate the portfolio. There's a lot of really interesting things around that. One more quick thing I'll also mention, beyond us doing the climate design workshop again at GDC this year. Thank you all very much for inviting us back. Glad it wasn't too chaotic for our first go. There's also just been a lot of traction in general in the industry for taking this seriously. Unity had released their research in partnership with Yale University to demonstrate like the sentiment and response that video game players have to the climate crisis. And one of the things that they found was, on average, people who play video games score higher on caring about the climate crisis, recognizing it personally affects them, and that they're willing to use their purchasing power to indicate their approval or disapproval of a company more so than the average US population from the original 5 America study. And so there's now more and more companies are getting excited to do more about this because they're recognizing that their players care. So I'll stop talking.
I mean, yeah, agree on all points. I think the other thing that was really cool out of that report is it indicated that gamers are considerably more likely to want to actually go do something about it, which didn't surprise me at all because they're gamers. They seek challenge for fun. They crave the novelty of a new experience, of something new to overcome and conquer or whatever. So it's such a great group of people to engage with the okay, now what part of climate messaging, which games are particularly capable of delivering, unlike other mediums. And I'm just so excited to see the data reveal that, because that unlocks a lot of doors. And I think going into next year, that's something we'll be able to capitalize on in this community, is really just go wide with findings like these. Use these workshops, engage people, be like, hey, developers, hey, publishers, your audiences have been waiting for this stuff for a long time. Here's all these games that have already been delivering it, going back to the meta-analysis. Here's guides on exactly how to do it if you want to go do it. So really kind of laying down infrastructure for the industry at large to take the baton from David Attenborough and all the classic climate engagement people and say, okay, what's the next evolution of engagement through media? And it's games. It needs to have been games for a long time, but we're a little late to the party. But hey, better late than never. So yeah, I'm just so excited to see the SIG be front and center and ready to take the baton on that and get people who want to engage, and reach people who maybe hadn't thought about it before by going to things like GDC, where we all gather, and hitting people with something they maybe haven't thought of.
Well, maybe not hitting them.
Well, I mean, we do have printed versions of some books going around that people are very excited to see. For we gotta on sustainably sourced, the finest sustainably sourced stationery we can find. get whatever ends up being the final. Let's not pretend there's ever going to be a final version of the environmental game design playbook, but some version of it printed would be pretty cool, at least to put up on a wall somewhere. But yeah, I look to this year with a lot of hope, and I've been needing that hope. Not the kind of like bury your head in the sand kind of hope. It's like, oh, it'll be okay. A thing you tell yourself. The actual like, oh, it's gonna be all right because we've got this, and this is happening. That trajectory, that data shows me it has a chance of being all right. So it's good. I go into the next year with a lot of hope, and I blame this community for that. How dare you take away my cynicism? It's so popular, especially in the UK. I'm an American in the UK, being all bright and hopeful about the future of our planet. You know how much I stand out? You know how hard it is to make friends? Everyone was just to moan about how it's going to be shit, and I'm just like, excuse me. We can do this, sir.
I will say I think that's like an important, just ongoing cultural insight from the SIG and from these conversations in the past year. I think that especially with the pandemic, and like I know that like we in this group have talked about this a lot, but I think it's harder to maintain hope, right? Like it's more important, but that also means like we can choose to take on the emotional labor of then maintaining that, and the resiliency that is required in order to do that is so hard when we're not in a community. And so I think that, I don't know, I think I've lost the amount of times that I've had to ping Clayton at like 11 o'clock in my evening, and it's like 1 a.m. in his, and I'm still like, I need to talk.
And I'm like, y'all are my only friends. I'm drunk at 1 a.m. What's up? Let's hang.
Cheers to the end of the world.
That's so true, right? Like I think it's so easy for us to like at least with old ways of thinking and old business models, like we get primed from an early age that you just have to put salt in the wound and move on. Mm-hmm. And I think that I think like one of the really big important things that I hope we continue to carry into 2023 is that like softness is its own strength, right? Like the ability for us to provide care for each other matters even more now than prior. And it's something that and I know that like I'm like this neurodivergent golden retriever 90% of the time, but it's really hard to maintain this energy and trust. If it not had been for all of you in this community, I think it would have been much harder to be in a room of day job people having to say like, no, this matters enough, and there are enough people who recognize this matters. We don't have to keep gaslighting ourselves. Like this is really important.
As a really quick interjection, as the marketer who wants the call to action, if you are interested in getting involved with the SIG Crew, 2023 could be your year. I'm just saying.
You belong.
Oh, Clayton, we're a good team. That was.
Oh God, like that was. Oh, your comedic timing today is brilliant.
Yeah. There are opportunities to get involved. If you want more this upcoming year, please let us know. You can either DM anyone in the SIG Crew directly. We have lots of really cool stuff, and we want people to, like, if you are interested in stepping up more with coordinating work streams, or Paula and Hugo can talk a little bit more to this, but
yeah.
There's oh, go ahead.
What I'm hearing in general is that we have a bunch of ongoing work streams that are going to continue most likely in the next year. We have the playbook and the action wiki, and these doing our bit talks. But I think it's important to stress that the new year is also a great time to sit down and think about what are we doing and what could we be doing that we haven't been. Last year we had a whole event planned where we collected the community and found some of our values and how that led into what we want to be doing. And I guess ultimately lucky we came out of that with largely the same strategies as we had going in, but they became a lot more clear and focused. So that's something that's going to happen early on in the new year as well. But yeah, that's what I had. I think Clayton had a thing.
Yeah, I think one of the things I would take from that, which I think is important because it's kind of how I wound up here, and I think it's kind of how a lot of people wind up here, is that one of the things I would like to invite people to who are not involved is to come with your own ideas when we talk about what could we be doing. Like, I think this is a very open community, and if you have been lurking or this is your first time even hearing about it, this is a community where if you come with an idea and enough energy, the community will rally around you, because there are a lot of people simply sitting around waiting for the right project, like the one where they feel like, this is me, I can do this, I can contribute here. And so I think come with your own ideas and your own energy, or come with neither. Just show up.
I think it's analogous to kind of just stay the public right now. You got a lot of people ideologically sitting on their hands, waiting for something to do. They don't know what to do to help this crisis, other than try and continue to recycle, which, how much does that really help a person's psyche? So yeah, it's one of the things I want to do in 2023 as part of the crew, is really kind of reach out and engage, because let's be real, apathy and depression is abound when you get adjacent to these issues. If you get adjacent to this stuff and you don't find some energy to latch onto to move forward with it, it can really drag you down.
Mm-hmm.
It's heavy work. I just, to make the games I'm working on, have to read and understand the reality of the subject matter that we're featuring in the games. Right now it's soil health, and that means I have to go learn the truth about how much it's under threat. And being around that stuff can be very tough. And even if you just are like, I'm here because I'm scared and I want to see that someone's doing something, rest assured we are. But you can also just be like, yeah, I'm scared, I'm worried, I'm anxious, I don't know what to do about it. I don't feel like I have any power, I don't have like agency, I'm just kind of sitting on a boat. Maybe it'll go off a cliff, maybe it won't, but I don't feel like I have the oar. So if you feel that way, speak up about it. You want people to commiserate about that with you? Absolutely. Plenty of people here. But also you want a way out of that feeling? Come work with us. Come engage with us. We'll give you the energy that will let you be adjacent to the crisis without it overwhelming you. And if you need a break because it still overwhelms you, so be it. There's no pressure. There's no like, oh, get in this work stream and commit. There's none of that. There's none of that here. I've worked in so many volunteer organizations, it's particularly ones that build pieces of software, or produce a report or some kind of consultation. And the fear of commitment is real, but I can assure anyone that that's not really a thing here. It's really not. If you need to hand off the baton, there's plenty of people ready to grab it for you. You just have to say.
And I think to circle back, and then I'll shut up, but I think this is a really cool, what a beautiful segue to...
We're full of segues here today.
Yeah, we're full of segues. I think this kind of circles back to something that this community provides. Like, there's no need to really commit hugely. It's all about little commitments, little opportunities where you feel like you can safely commit. And the result of that isn't little stuff. As Andrew said, like when he looked at the playbook, these people must be a big deal. Most of the people that contributed to the playbook that made it possible, maybe a couple hours tops, right? And like that's the 100 kobolds in a big robe that look like a cave troll. Like, that's how that happened. People who put an hour here.
I should have shaved. There. I get it. Do I look that bad?
Yeah, you're not the cave troll in this group.
I'm literally in a cave.
But but you belong, so it's okay.
Yeah,
But you
I
belong.
in this cave.
You
is what
all
I'm
belong
saying.
as a cobalt in this
Um,
robe.
yeah.
But you know, I encourage people listening and who read this in the future, that exact idea that like, hey, that 80-ish page long document that looks like it got produced by top tier think tank was a few people chipping in time here and there. If that's what could come of that, imagine what your few hours might inspire to somebody else later. Don't underestimate your own ripple effect here, because there's so many people ready to receive a good ripple about saving this planet.
Get rippled.
I totally thought you said your Rickroll effect, and I was like, "What is that amazing, amazing phrase?
Never
I
underestimate your
will use that
Rickroll effect.
forever."
Oh man. Oh man, we gotta bottle this up and sell it. We're coining so many new properties right now.
Speaking of, okay, so Megan, is it okay if I do one little tiny pitch and then I'll be done? It's like a little pitch because we're kind of on the topic. 2023, places people can contribute. 2023, starting in January, we are going to be, the EGDP is going to be the core of the UN Green Game Jam, or the Play for the Planet Alliance Green Game Jam. And so we're doing the training, and it's for the first time that it's the first time we're going to be doing like a series of workshops rather than just a few lectures. And while the people who worked on the playbook have kind of always been involved in the Green Game Jam, this is the first time I think it's like officially the playbook is the foundation. And so if you're a game designer, a developer, a team, you can join the Green Game Jam, which is awesome. If you're a member of the SIG or interested, we need support, like minimal, a couple hours here and there kind of stuff. It's a good place to say, I don't really know what I can do. Sometimes just sitting in on a Zoom call and taking notes is a great way to start learning about the process and what we're doing and the other things that are happening. Or, yeah, I'm just just letting people know that there is stuff happening that's not as big and nebulous, right, as the stuff that we're talking about in 2022.
Well, I will also say that related to that, I think first to give credit where credit is due, because recognition of labor is really important. Clayton has been specifically asked by the United Nations Playing for the Planet Alliance to organize, facilitate, and plan these workshops.
Asked is.
Well, I mean, you were working
I
directly
emailed
with
Deb and said, "Hey, Deb, could you ask me to do this?" And she said, "Yeah."
Isn't that how most business deals happen anyway? But I think second, I think that everything that Clayton said is incredibly important because even if you are new to the space or you've been doing this a long time and like burnout is hitting recessions real hard right now, I think that whatever insight that you are willing to lend, even if it's like 15-30 minutes of your time just to provide feedback on what makes sense to you in your specific role, if you were to participate in something like this or have capacity to do something like this, means a lot. I think that to call back to Hugo's learning with our Cologne Game Lab pilot, it was an incredible experience to learn how inaccessible like the climate crisis and climate actions can still be if that existing passion is not already there. And I think that even with incentives like a grade or doing well in class or supporting like the team that you have to partner with, it can still be really hard when all of these other factors are swirling, right? And so one of the best, most approachable and hopefully practical things that everyone here can do is really just to provide that feedback. Like if I were a marketer to tell this story, what are we missing? If you were a game developer who needed guidance on how to do this well, what are the steps that you would need in order to feel confident that you could do this work without additional friction involved? Like those little things from even your N of one experience or that of your studios means a lot.
I'm gonna wind this down soon. If anybody else has, Paul, come back.
Paul is winding down.
Yeah.
To the floor.
I like
I'm using my Rickroll effect for good.
I like
my
that
God.
instead of just scooting back so that
Yeah.
the camera didn't so the camera let you face in the background, you crawled
You
under
made
your
it
desk.
much harder for yourself. All right, we've hit an hour.
This
I'm gonna bring us back. We're gonna wind down this beautiful stream with all of
Jesus,
these
a
lovely adults
wizard.
who've been very great summing up 2022 and
These mature,
2023.
completely sane people. Yes.
We're very focused. I gave everyone a heads up in the newsletter that this would be very focused. So focused. If anybody else, if you want to add anything else before we wind this up, speak now.
You're all very loved. You're all belong. Look out for invitations in the new year. One of the things I didn't mention before, because again, time blindness, as my mic is now falling because I've ruined my setup, is that at the beginning of last year, we had done like 2 sessions of planning for the work streams, like taking apart like what we learned, what we were able to accomplish, what questions we needed to answer. So we will likely do something like that again in the new year, based off of like however schedules align with everybody in the community. So that'll be an invite that'll come into the Discord. We'll make sure it's also in the newsletter that is dutifully put out on a very regular basis. Thank you, Megan.
Sometimes. Anything else? Super
Oh,
grateful
good.
for all of you. And if you're not in the Discord, can someone throw the link in there really quick if you'd like to participate? That is where a lot of our communication happens. We do have a newsletter, which the link is also in the Discord, for people who are not amenable to Discord, which is totally fair. It can be a lot. There are lots of great conversations that happen, and that's okay too. We're always welcome to have people participate and drop out, or and you come back. Everybody's got their own relationship with this group. That's awesome. All right, I'm gonna turn this off. I'm gonna end this stream. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you for also checking this out. And again, this is the IGDA Climate SIG for 2022, and we're gonna have what are you doing? Okay, we're going to have a spectacular 2023. Thank you all again. Bye.